Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about likes, lies, and addiction, the toxic truth about social media. And I really don't like that word toxic. It's just overused now. It used to be a really cool word, toxic Avengers and shit, But it's just so overused now. Everything is toxic. You don't like your mom, she's toxic. You don't like, you don't like somebody at school because they're toxic. It's just stupid. It's completely overused. But now when you're talking about social media and the effects that it's having on these kids nowadays, I think that's a pretty appropriate word. And I'm going to start this off by talking about post on Facebook that I saw. I think it was yesterday morning or something. And I'm not a big social media guy. I don't, mess with Facebook a whole lot or any of those, Instagram, any of that shit. I just don't mess with it too much. But I do post my videos to Facebook. And I see posts once in a while, Well, I went yesterday to post a video to Facebook, and I happened to see somebody else's post. And it was a German Shepherd dog laying on the ground with like about half a dozen, 5 or 6 dead puppies lined up, almost like they were going to breastfeed, from the dog and drink milk, but they're lined up in a row there, and they're obviously, the puppies are dead. And the headline of the post was, "I lost my babies this morning. Only wicked people won't reply with RIP. All right, rest in peace for the puppies." And I mean, it was just such an obvious ploy to make you feel guilty. You're a bad person. You're literally the poster claimed that you were a wicked person if you didn't react and make a comment on their post. This kind of shit, it just makes me mad, just irritates me. Not makes me mad. It just irritates me to see that kind of stuff. Not that I've ever fallen for one of those. Like I've never fallen, felt guilty because someone else told me I should. I only feel guilty over shit I actually do, not because of but this kind of stuff is all over the place. I just flicked past it. I really wish I would have screenshotted it or saved it somehow to show you the example, the picture that was posted, the image. Because there's only one of two things could have happened when you look at the image. Number one, the puppies were all lined up in like perfect little soldiers. They were in a nice row there, and they were obviously dead. They were dead puppies. So the poster had these dead puppies, and then probably decided to take advantage of it. I can get some likes, I can get some clicks if I, line these dead puppies up and take a picture of it. Now, that just, I don't know, what do you want to call it? I don't want to, maybe morally disgusting, reprehensible. If you're going to use dead puppies to get clicks, I don't know. That's disgusting to me. To use dead puppies for fish bait or something, okay, that makes sense. But to get clicks to post them and try to make other people feel guilty because you screwed up and did something stupid and lost your puppies, or maybe it was just a natural thing and your puppies died. I don't know. But I know it wasn't my damn fault that your puppies died. That's one thing I do damn know. So I've got nothing to do with your puppies. You know what I'm saying? So to try to use that and to make anybody who just stumbles across that post, try to make them feel guilty because your puppies died, it's just moronic, number one. It's stupid, and it's, just disgusting. The second option there is that the image could have just been AI generated. It's a still image. There aren't any letters. There aren't any words. It was just a still image of a dog and some dead puppies. So it could have very well been AI generated. And it could, some dude in a hut in Pakistan or something could be posting these images all over the place and trying to get one to go viral, using that kind of shit. So there's no telling. That's another possibility. And if that's the case, it's still bullshit, I still don't like it, but whatever the case may be. But that's the kind of behavior that our social media today rewards, right? Because people will automatically feel sorry. Oh, dead puppies. I got to click on that. I'm not wicked. I've got to respond. I've got to make a comment. Now, I just flicked right past the thing. I read the words real quick and looked down at the picture because I was just posting, a video from this channel. I wasn't, trying to dig off into Facebook and stuff. I normally don't. But if I had known that would have, that I was going to want to talk about that in a future video, I would have looked to see how many comments and likes and clicks and all that thing got, so I could talk about it more. But I didn't, and then I haven't been able to find it. I actually went back and looked for it some more, but I couldn't find it. Now, this next example, it goes along the same lines, and I actually saved the thing here so I could show y'all. But here we have an example of where someone is prompting you to like or comment or something if you believe in God or Jesus or something like that. And I see a lot of this. I mean, this is like I said, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, but I see a lot of this kind of stuff where, if you love Jesus, say amen. And, so if I don't say amen, it means I'm an atheist or a Satanist, or, I don't love Jesus or some shit like that. And this kind of stuff just rings to me like the old televangelists, right? They're just playing on your emotions and trying to get you to click or comment or something like that. Just interact with the post, because you don't want to be evil. You don't want to be an atheist. You don't want to be whatever. You don't want to be this or that or whatever. So they're pinning you, right? They're pinning you up against the wall. You're either this or that. Okay. And you don't want to be that. So you must be this. So to prove you must be this to yourself and to everybody else, the universe, you gotta click on this message and make a comment and stuff about how much I love Jesus and all this shit. And I don't know, this is as reprehensible to me as the puppy thing. Just like with the televangelist, to use religion in that way, to manipulate people with religion, with their beliefs, something that deep down inside us, near the core of our being, and to try to manipulate us that way is disgusting. Yeah. And I see this one all the time. I don't see too many dead puppies on there, to be honest. That was a rare instance there, the dead puppies. But I see if you love Jesus and amen and all this stuff, I see that all the time. They're, trying to manipulate people into interacting with the post simply because, you just don't want to be someone who doesn't love Jesus, right? If you are a Christian, you have to interact with that, or you don't love Jesus. It says it right there on the post. So yeah, that kind of shit. And we just have to be aware of this manipulative bullshit when we see it. These people And like I said before, the people posting this kind of stuff are probably dudes, Pakistani, dudes, or some dude in Israel just posting it. It's not even a Christian. They're not even, it's not like some old lady in Texas is posting and trying to, raise awareness of Christianity and get more people on board or something like that. It's not. No, some dude in India is posting 10,000 of these things a day and just trying to get you to click on the shit, So yeah, this kind of stuff is reprehensible. And then other people do this kind of stuff in just all kinds of different ways. And all these different kinds of manipulation strategies, right? They try to tug at our heartstrings and play on our emotions to try to get us to interact with their post, their video, their feed, their whatever the hell it is. And that kind of stuff is just base, deceitful shit, And I don't like it when I see it. It just rings alarm bells in my head. This shit is false. This shit is fake. So, my only advice there is don't feel guilty for not clicking on the dead puppies because it's most likely bullshit. If it is real, then the person who did it took the time to line up the dead puppies and take a picture of them instead of, feeling bad, sitting down on the couch and having a good cry and eating a bag of chips and, talking to their mom on the phone or something. They lined up the dead puppies and took a picture for Facebook. So there's something wrong there. There's just something wrong there. And that is just one small way that social media is designed to just lead us down a shitty path in life. You know what I mean? To have us make bad decisions, chasing these clicks, chasing these likes, trying to make a living by deceiving people and getting them to feel emotionally about stuff that they shouldn't. I can go through my day without being, without feeling guilty about someone else's dead puppies, and I'll be just fine. I don't have to see someone else's dead puppies to have a good day. I don't need to feel guilt over that shit. I don't need to have, someone else's problems thrown in my face. I just don't. I don't need that shit in my life. But that's what social media gives us. I feel guilty for not liking, not posting RIP for her dead puppies. I feel guilty for not posting amen because somebody drew some sheep and some feet in that picture that I showed you. Already this morning I'm a degenerate. I'm an atheist. I'm wicked, and that's just from quickly scanning over 2 posts on Facebook. I'm a wicked, degenerate atheist. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. It's bullshit, but that's how they play it. So I don't want to go through my day being a wicked, degenerate atheist. So I click and I type RIP or amen or whatever that shit is. I ignore that shit. I don't give a damn. They're not going to manipulate me. And I hope if y'all do ever see that kind of shit, I hope you haven't been falling for it, haven't been, thinking that shit was real in any kind of way. I mean, even if the puppies were real, her feelings about the puppies were not real. She didn't give a shit. She was lining them up to take pictures of them. So, but yeah, and if you ever do in the future see those kind of posts, then maybe you can take a second and think about them and not feel guilty over somebody else's stupid bullshit, their stupid attempt to garner some clicks. Yeah. Don't feel guilty about that shit. Don't worry about it. Don't worry yourself about it for a second of your life. And this is the kind of stuff in social media that leads to mental health decline. I mean, if let's say you're a 15-year-old girl or something, You know what I mean? And you're just trying to figure life out and shit. And you're constantly bombarded with this kind of stuff. You're constantly feeling guilt because, you know, you didn't click on her dead puppies. This kind of stuff. Constantly, 24/7 bombarded with that kind of shit. Constantly feeling like you don't measure up because of all the fake shit. Of course, you know, us as adults, we know we can't measure up to all that fake shit on social media because it's fake, you know? And when I think of myself, I think of my real self. I don't think of my fake self, you know, some bullshit persona that I've made up for social media that's happy and perfect and smart and, you know, but that's the kind of persona that people make for social media. And I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen people get upset and feel bad about themselves in their own lives because they don't measure up to the ones on social media, on Facebook or whatever. And I've had to sit people down and explain to them, you know, they're fake, right? You know that I mean, at the very least, to give them the most credit possible, these people are presenting the absolute silver lining, the best angle of their lives. They're not getting down in the dirt and, you know, and posting the times that they were, you know, hugging the porcelain god and puking their guts into the toilet and that kind of shit. They're not posting that kind of stuff. They're posting it when, you know, they're making videos and taking pictures after they've spent an hour in the bathroom getting made up and, you know, wearing clothes that they're probably going to put back in the box and return. You know what I mean? They just ordered them just for that one photo shoot, that kind of shit. Yeah, so people measure themselves up against these fake lives on social media, and they don't measure up. They can't meet that. And you can't because it's fake. You have to make a fake life. But even if you did, when you measure yourself against something, you measure your real life, your real stuff against that fake shit. Because you don't think of yourself in terms of fake and fraudulence. You know what I mean? When you think about your clothes, you think about the clothes in your closet, not the shit sitting on the Amazon website that you can order and then return because you don't have the money to keep them. You know what I mean? Yeah, that kind of shit's crazy. But we can't measure ourselves against that kind of fraudulent shit. It's not healthy. And because we keep failing to meet that standard, that's bad for our mental health. Not necessarily us Gen Xers, but the kids. You know, these kids don't know any better. They're not screw it, whatever. You know, they're deep into this shit. Because all their friends are. And we know what peer pressure was like back in our high school days. We had peer pressure. And now peer pressure is you got to be on Instagram and you got to have a phone and all this shit. So, yeah, it's just bad for people's mental health. They're always going to be, you know, down on themselves because they can't measure up. And that's just the way it is. You can't. And another thing social media does is create that constant drive for clicks, right? That's a dopamine hit or whatever, you know, I wake up and you got 10,000 likes or something. I don't know what the number would be for those kids. Maybe 10,000 ain't shit. Maybe that's just way too much. I have no idea. But, you know, whatever their number is, you know, you wake up and you got a lot of likes. Or you got a lot of interactions or something because you posted some stupid video that went viral or whatever, or half-ass viral or something. So that's a dopamine hit. That makes you feel good about yourself. So then what are you going to do? You're going to do that shit again. You're going to post another video and you're going to keep checking on your phone on this whatever app, you know, TikTok or whatever, because you had that one video that was successful and you felt good about that, right? Or these kids did. I'm saying you, but not us. I'm talking about the kids. The kids feel good about that, right? You get to feel good for a few seconds or a few minutes or maybe all day even because your video did really well. But then so you go make another video and post it and, well, that one doesn't do any good. So now you feel bad oh, I'm a failure. I can't repeat that success. What did I do wrong? I mean, that's how people are. That's just the psychology of people. So then they make 2 or 3 more videos and 2 or 3 more flops. Nobody even notices those videos. And now they're in a downward spiral of depression because it's human nature to blame yourself for that shit when it's just bullshit algorithm. And people didn't see the thing, or they were busy or whatever. Or maybe the one that was successful just happened to be seen by a very popular person with a lot of followers, and he shared it or she shared it, and it got picked up. It's got nothing to do with you or how much effort you put into it or how good or bad you are. It's just the algorithm. It's just the luck of the draw. Literally, it's like, being down on yourself, feeling bad about yourself for not winning the lottery. Oh, I didn't win the lottery today. I'm such a piece of shit. But that's how these kids feel, that's part of the reason they get into these depressions and stuff. And then, of course, they get medicated, go get them some pills, but, that's a different video. And another thing is the moral decline, right, on the social media. I mean, even when we were kids, we were kind of morally, what do you want to call it? Morally a little more loose with our morals than our grandparents were and stuff, But now in this world of social media, I see women on there constantly who are basically naked, I mean, they're covered in clothes, but the clothes are so tight and thin that, I mean, they're basically just changing the color of their skin because the clothes are like, their skin. And this, I don't know why that's happening. I do know it's for money, it's for likes, it's for clicks, it's for attention and all this stuff. And social media has promoted that, has brought out the worst in women in that way, right? And dudes too. I can't just say women, but in that way with the the nudity and the hypersexualization and all that, that's women more than men. I don't see a bunch, but maybe just the algorithm knows I'm a dude and they're not pitching me that shit. They just throw scantily clad women at me because they know I'm not going to pay attention to any buff dudes. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's why I don't see the dudes. But anyway, but it promotes that shit. People click on it, and I just keep remember every time I see, some gal on there doing some shit and, acting like she doesn't notice the camera, whatever. I just think about all the years I heard that women want to be treated as equals for their minds. They're not pieces of meat. They're not sex objects and all this stuff. And now all over social media, they just act like pieces of meat. They present themselves as basically sex toys. They just, they're just flaunting themselves as slabs of bacon or whatever. And I don't know. I just wonder how the older women feel about that shit. But I see older women doing it too. So not all of them can feel the same way about it. I know that for damn sure. But all the women who used to say that, we want to be respected for our minds and shit. What happened there? That's completely gone out the window. And almost entirely. I heard that a full 10% of women aged 18 to 25, a full 10% of them are on OnlyFans. Right? So that's a lot of women, and that's pretty damn bad. Yeah, I don't know. We're like social media is twisting us and reverting us back to our animal selves. Okay, people rose above that shit. They just didn't rut in the grass and, and shit out kids randomly and, like lions or something. We didn't do that. We rose above that, right? We had castles and morals, and then we built a civilization, and we had cars and coming through history like that. And we were above the animals. We didn't just rut. We had systems like marriage and this kind of stuff and family, and and we separated ourselves from the animals until the internet was invented, until feminism came along and destroyed the nuclear family. Now, instead of continuing to rise and excel away from our animal selves, we've nosedived back down, and we're acting like animals again. As a society, not each individual person, but as a society, we act more like, lions or hyenas or something than we do people of the 20th century, people of the mid 1900s or early 1900s. Those, we don't act like those. We act more like, lions or cheetahs out on the damn savannah nowadays, just with the loose, non-existent morals and all this kind of stuff. So that's another way that social media has really been detrimental to our mental health and our moral, our moral being. You can't feel good about yourself. I don't care. You can't feel good about yourself if you don't have some morals, some moral code. If you'll just do anything in front of a camera for clicks and money, what are those money, Venmo or whatever, somebody send you $20 over Venmo, you'll do just about anything in front of that camera. So you can't feel good about yourself. And if you don't feel good about yourself, you can't be happy. So, yeah, I think that all of this social media has really gone a long way into eroding our mental health, And now I'm going to talk a little bit about life before social media, because for a while there, we had cell phones and we could text each other and stuff, but there wasn't social media yet, in the early 2000s for a few years there, maybe even some of the late 90s, early 2000s, we had cell phones, but there wasn't any social media. And that was kind of a sweet spot there for connectivity. You could call somebody, from your car or whatever, but there was no social media. Then nobody was chasing clicks yet. There wasn't any such thing as OnlyFans or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or none of that shit existed, right? So back then, everything was it was like toned down, the moral decline didn't speed up yet. People weren't, parading themselves in the in front of a camera doing crazy shit. People weren't posting pictures of dead puppies and asking for sympathy. People weren't accusing you of being a Satanist by, for not liking their post, that kind of stuff. So all of that stress was gone. It was non-existent, but we could talk to each other and text each other and stuff. So I think that was kind of a sweet spot there in technology as far as that goes. I personally never been really in love with the cell phone. I like some of the things about it. Don't get me wrong, but if I had the choice, if it was up to me, I'd get rid of them. I'd put all that technology at the house, and when you left the house, you'd leave it all behind. You want to do all that shit, you come back to the house. So I think that we were mentally happier I mean, not like some utopian, dancing around, sound of music, happy shit, but just less depressed, less medicated and shit back then. Nowadays, you need medication just to be on social media to deal with the anxiety and depression that social media inflicts on us, right? Especially if you're into that shit heavy. I don't even know what that would be like, because I'm not. So I never have been. So I don't know, but I see other people, and I see other people, watch interviews and stuff about what this kind of shit, how this kind of stuff is affecting them. And I can imagine what people are like, people that maybe are a little more emotional and feel that tug when they see the dead puppies. You know what I mean? And back before social media, people were just friends. People didn't, you had to, some people tried to keep up with the Joneses and that, some people did that. But now it's, you're trying to keep up with the fake Joneses, because they can just fake it now. You can literally find you go to Home Depot, say, and go to one of their kitchen displays in there and take pictures in there like it's your house. Go to a store like that and take pictures as if you live there. And you can pretend that that's your life. And people on looking at your profile, unless they pay really close attention, a lot of them won't be able to tell. So you're going to try to be keeping up with someone like that who's just posting a completely fake life and living a different life than the one that they show on social media. So yeah, we were just, it was easier. We weren't chasing that kind of shit around back in the day. I mean, a lot of people would try to keep up with their neighbors. If their neighbors got a new car, then they tried to get a new car or whatever. Some people did that back then. I'm not denying that, but not to this level, like it is now. And that's just another reason to go back, if we could revert some of this shit back to the good old days. No, and that's another thing. If you think about it, the way social media works is through this advertising and all this shit, right? So, and these companies, these big companies, they use psychology. They just do. They use psychology in their advertisements. They use psychology in the way they structure their apps. And if your kid puts their phone down and goes outside to play, these companies lose money. Okay? They don't want that. They don't want your kid outside getting sunshine and playing in the dirt, and that is the worst thing for their business. People have to understand this stuff, that these companies are interested in keeping your child and everyone, locked in on that screen and drooling into their lap. They don't want you outside being healthy and happy. They want you depressed and chasing clicks and shit, okay? Because that makes them money. Healthy, happy people being outside, enjoying sunshine and fresh air do not make them money. And I think that's something that a lot of people miss. They don't realize it. They think that, that it's just there. It's for their convenience. No, it's to make that company money. That's what that app is for nothing else. It's not to help you get in contact with your friends and family. It's not to help you have a better life. It's not to improve your life in any way. It is to make that company money. And every time you set that phone down and walk away from it, that company loses money. Think about it. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll leave that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I appreciate those of you who do that, and I'll leave that link down in the description too. If you're interested in Gen X gear, we got some pretty cool stuff over there at Redbubble. Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff, t-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff. But I'll leave that link down in the description for any of you who are interested. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out a hell of a lot, so thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments. Or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.